Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So yesterday still is a tough pill to swallow. Jets lost to the Lions 20-17. It literally came right down to the end. We all know what happened with the missed field goal and everything like that. But in this one, I wanted to really break down Zach Wilson's performance here because it looks like, according to Ian Rappaport, because of injury, Mike White will probably not be out there for this Thursday's game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team right now that, much like the Lions, is really hot. You know, they just had a huge upset win at home against the Dallas Cowboys, and it's looking like it's going to be Zach one more time at the very least. Okay, so if the Jets want to keep their playoff hopes alive, it starts this Thursday. Okay, yes, of course, we have to factor in what the Pats are doing, what the, Chargers and the Dolphins are all doing, all these different games, all these different teams, but let's face it, if the Jets don't take care of business on their end, they're not making it in. Okay, so we need Zach Wilson to go out there and perform. Let's take a look at how he looked for the first time in 3 weeks. Obviously, a multi-week, essentially it was a break for Zach Wilson because it wasn't like he was rehabbing an injury or anything like that. He was benched. The Jets pretty much put him on the scout team. He wasn't even dressing on Sundays. It was one big reset period. Now we look at Wilson's stats overall. He was 18 of 35, 317 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think that the game was really a microcosm of Zach's Jet career so far. There's high points where he's ripping off these like frozen ropes, like just putting absolute dimes up in the air, and guys are coming down with them, right? Explosive plays. I want to say 75% of NFL starting quarterbacks, the best of the best in the world, probably can't make. He has that potential. He has that arm strength, and part of the mobility, plays into effect. When he's able to extend plays, get outside the pocket, point a guy open, and just let it rip down the field. It's so exciting to watch. But even with those highlight types of plays, it's almost like a yo-yo effect. You have these head scratchers, right? Fans in the stands, people watching on TV, players, coaches, everybody's thinking like, why was that ball thrown? Why was it thrown the way it was? Why was that decision made? Like the INT, we're going to kind of dive into it here, but it was just a big up and down roller coaster ride with Zach against the Detroit Lions, and I really feel that's kind of how it's been since he's drafted. He's had those wow moments. He's had those fourth quarter comebacks. He's had times where he's looked really, really sharp. And everybody's like, man, the Jets are onto something. Zach Wilson could be really, really, really special. And then there's throws where it's like, should the Jets even bother with continuing with Zach on the roster moving forward? It's just such a hit or miss. It's just like complete opposites, and the lack of consistency is just it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. So again, we talked about the overall numbers on the day. I think to start out, especially looking at how the Lions came out with all the pressure on defense, knowing that their defensive line was doing really, really well, and just how upfront and aggressive they really were. I think that Aaron Glenn wanted to force Zach Wilson to beat him down the field. And, I felt like at times Zach made some pretty good decisions with the football. He was 8 of 14, 185 yards with a touchdown pass, no turnovers in the first half. I felt like LaFleur actually did a good job of kind of picking up on how aggressive Detroit was defensively and really started to open up with play action. And one pass specifically, Zach Wilson stepped up in the pocket and delivered a beautiful, beautiful pass right over the middle of the field. But then, halftime hits and the wheels just completely fall off. The Jets offense stalls out in a massive way. And I feel like it was one of the main culprits on why the Jets lost the game entirely. It all started with the first drive coming out of halftime where I believe on the fourth play, Zach Wilson threw a horrible, horrible INT where he just lofted it up in the air to the sidelines. And I actually kind of jokingly said in the recap video, it seemed like Zach was almost like practicing goal line fades with like how much hang time the pass had. Jacobs comes right underneath it and picks it off. It's like, man, this is a close game coming out of halftime. We're trying to build some momentum, build some consistency in the second half, and we just give the Lions an easy INT. I mean, Jacobs, credit, he got the interception, but it's not like he had to make this extremely tough play on the ball or was locking down the target. It's just like it was almost like he had to go catch a punt. Like that's how high up how high up in the air the pass was. Next drive, 3 and out. The third drive, 9 plays, punt. The fourth drive, another 3 and out. So the first 4 drives of the second half were all negative. Jets didn't score any points. The Jets didn't really take much time off of the clock. The Jets didn't really do anything productive in the first 4 drives coming out of halftime in a massive, must-win game. And by the way, against a Lions defense, granted, they've been playing better as of late, but, they're not an elite group. This is not a top 5 unit. So I think it's just disappointing from that front. And then we fast forward a little bit until the final couple minutes of the fourth quarter. That's when Zach started clicking a little bit. I felt like when the first read was open and he was decisive and he would just cut it loose, the passes were accurate. But then he would come back a couple plays later and just completely overshoot a guy, right? Overthrowing Jeff Smith, overthrowing Elijah Moore. And, in the end, it's kind of like, it's not like perfectly similar here, but you hear the term like in basketball, like you live by the 3, you die by the 3. You kind of like live with Zach Wilson's explosive plays, and you also die with them at the same time. I mean, you look at the explosive plays overall throughout the game. He completed a 50-yard pass, 2 33-yard passes. He had one for over 40 yards as well. I mean, that's 4 massive chunk plays that offenses typically don't have, and he made those plays happen with his legs and with his arms. So we do have to credit Zach there. And in the end, right, when the Jets were driving down the field, where he rolled out to his right and found Elijah Moore in the middle of the field, almost coming back to the offense, that was crazy. That play literally gave the Jets a chance to tie it in the end. But you factor in the inconsistent quarterback play, and you match that with a special teams blunder, a bad punt by Braden Mann to start things off, return for a touchdown. You stack on top of it that the team just isn't calling the timeouts until, seconds left in the game. It's not cohesive. It's not a recipe for success in the long term. Explosive plays are awesome, right? They are cool. They're fun to watch. It's fun to get excited about. It's fun to rewatch them and everything like that. But to me, it's not consistent. I don't want to be one of those teams that's trying to bank on that every single week. Like going to Buffalo in the playoffs, going to Kansas City in the playoffs, playing teams like the Bengals and the Ravens. I think you can't just bank on crazy explosive plays, these 3rd and 18s, 4th and 18s, where it's just like, okay, we just got to rely on Zach Wilson to extend the play and hopefully find somebody down the field and, throw an accurate pass. For me, I want some consistency, especially with this style of offense that the Jets run, where a lot of it is so timing-based, rhythm-based. Just as soon as that back foot hits, the ball should be out. Wide receiver should be where he needs to be. And once that stuff starts clicking, and we have seen it before, and I always reference the Bucks game from last year. Like that game just felt so smooth compared to all the other ones. The ball was just being put in play. The Jets had control of the clock. At home against Tom Brady. The game was just awesome. It seriously looked like everything started to click in that moment. But again, it all comes back to the consistency here. It's so high, so low. It's this big roller coaster ride with Zach. And the highs are awesome, again, with the explosive plays, with the touchdowns, but the lows are just like, man, if we could just X some of those out, the Jets would be in such a better position, when we take a look at, macro perspective, where things went wrong, turning points in games and stuff like that. So, again, massive week this week, Thursday against Jacksonville. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. With Zach Wilson, where do you stand? To me, as much as I love the explosive stuff, I feel like all Jets fans know he can do that. I think we just want to see some routine stuff. Can you hit the screen passes? Can you hit the slants consistently? Can you hang in the pocket? Can you step up into the pocket? Process what the defense is trying to do, pick up blitzes and by the way, look, the offensive line was not perfect. In my opinion, they were really, really bad. Corey Davis was hurt. Denzel Mims gets hurt midway through the game. The Jets were, of course, down a couple players here. it's not the complete unit, but in the end, too many things went wrong. So let me know your thoughts down below, and as always, go Jets.